Hey guys, welcome to another Star Wars book review here on the channel, where my goal is to look at the Star Wars Legends material and read them for the very first time and discuss it with you guys here. Now, last time here on the channel, we looked at the Star Wars novelization, Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Skywalker, and now we're going to be looking at the next book, Splinter, the Mind's Eye, which came out in 1978, written by Alan Dean Foster. Splinter the Mind's Eye is one of the most intriguing novels of the Star Wars Legends catalog. In fact, it doesn't even belong in the Star Wars Legends catalog to begin with. It was very much an alternate sequel to the original Star Wars. Empire was just a few years away, and we had this one, which was originally intended to be a sequel to the original Star Wars, should Star Wars fail at the box office, which it didn't, and we got Empire, and the rest is history. But this little novel still came out in 1978, and really told a completely different story, a completely different sequel from Empire. Basically, when Alan Dean Foster was tasked to write the novelization for the original Star Wars, he was also tasked with writing a sequel to it that George Lucas basically wanted him to write a low-budget sequel that he could eventually turn into a low-budget movie. Think basically a Roger Corman production of Star Wars, and that's basically what you get with this. So basically, it was set on one planet with fog and a swampy area, basically to hide any effects. It was a smaller cast, as well as it didn't have characters like Han Solo, because there was the whole idea that with this low-budget movie, they probably weren't going to be able to get Harrison Ford back. And so, it's very intriguing to read for that, to have this alternate take of Star Wars. But is it any good? Well, sadly, I didn't really care for this book that much. It has its merits. It has some stuff I really do enjoy, but for the most part, I was rather disappointed and didn't have much fun while reading it, and just found myself kind of rushing to get through till the end, because I just really wasn't that entertained. As for what the novel is about, it follows Luke and Leia sometime after the events of A New Hope, as they land down on a planet in hopes of finding people that they could help bring to the Alliance. However, they crash land on a swamp planet that is overrun by the Empire, and soon find themselves entangled in just a huge mess, and find a old woman named Hala who has Force-like capabilities, and talks to them about the Kyber crystal, which can be used to really intune yourself with the Force and enhance it. And so Luke and Leia set out on a journey to find it. Overall, I don't really mind the setup. I think it is really fun, and I do like the whole idea of a Star Wars story taking place on one planet with limited resources, and when you read the novel, it really does have that low-budget quality to it. However, it's just a rather bland book that has a lot of problems, but I will be getting into the positives first, and one of those positives has to do with Princess Leia herself. This book does a great job of her dealing with the baggage of what happened in the previous novel. Her homeworld was completely obliterated, and she was tortured for information, and we really see that throughout this book and how that has taken a toll on her. She wants revenge against what happened to her planet, and she wants to kill Darth Vader, which I really think is awesome, and we don't get that in Empire Strikes Back. And also, Leia has to deal with the fact that, you know, she was tortured for information in, you know, severe interrogations on the Death Star, and that's taken a toll on her too, and I really do like that about the novel. I also really like the villain of this novel. His name is Captain Supervisor Grammel, which is a stupid name, but the character I actually really enjoyed. He's very much in the same vein as Tarkin. There's really not much to him. He's just a really fun kind of villain that has just some weird little quirks to him, and I really enjoyed him overall and thought he was a fun little threat that they had to deal with. A lot of the scenes that he's in I really did enjoy. I also really like the finale of this book, which is actually really well written, with a great lightsaber fight between Luke and Darth Vader. It's fun and thrilling, and even Leia gets to kick some butt during these scenes, even taking the lightsaber in her hand and fighting Darth Vader herself. And it's just a lot of fun, and definitely my favorite part of the novel. In fact, basically, the third act of this novel, I really don't have a problem with at all. I thought it was extremely thrilling and really fun. There's some other little things here and there that I really like. Like, I like how Luke uses the lightsaber in certain ways, like changing the beam of the lightsaber to be thinner or longer and all that stuff. Like, there's little things like that that don't mean much, but just add little bits of world building and just something different that we don't normally see in Star Wars, which I really enjoyed. However, unless I'm really forgetting anything, there's not really that much else that I really love about this book. In fact, most of this book I just found extremely dull, and a lot of that is due to the writing. Now, I said in my novelization review of Star Wars that I wasn't a huge fan of Alan Dean Foster's writing, and right here, I'm really not that interested in his writing at all, and I don't find it particularly that enthralling, except for the third act, which is incredible for some reason. But he really has a problem with basically dialogue. Like, for an example, like, you know, when you're reading a book or something, like, you'll get a sentence that says, "Hey, said so-and-so, what are you doing?" And that's really how, you know, you write a sentence or something. You can break it up like that. But he will break stuff up in the middle of sentences. Like, it will, instead of what I just said, it will be, "Hey, what are," said Luke, "you doing?" It's really awkward. That's not a good example. It would be much better if I had, like, an example from the book, but that's very much how he writes, and it's very awkward and clunky to read, and also the dialogue just isn't that good in a lot of places. There are some moments where the dialogue really kicks in, especially with the dialogue between Luke and Darth Vader and their confrontation. That stuff is really good, but then there's little annoyances like how Hala, this old lady, basically calls Luke boy the entire time. Every sentence she says in this book literally ends with boy, and it's really, really annoying to read. Also, again, there's a pacing problem with this book. Much like with the Star Wars novelization, there's just a lot of time spent really building up everything to the point where it's just kind of tedious, and then when we get to the third act, everything just explodes, and it's really easy and fun to read. But yeah, basically, the writing is a big problem with this. Also, I really didn't care for Luke Skywalker in this book at all. I found him to be a real asshole, especially because I feel like they combined Luke's character traits with Han Solo's traits to make him a lot more brash, and I realize I really don't like this type of Luke Skywalker. He's just kind of not a good person. There's also the famous scene from this book where Luke backhands Leia and says that, you know, she is his slave to try to get the Imperials off their tail, and it's hilarious. It's really, really dumb. Also, there's a lot of convenient moments in this book. Like, Luke and Leia meet these two indigenous creatures on the planet that they're on, and Luke can just completely understand them and, you know, speak their language and everything. And it's just so forced in that apparently he read a book while on Tatooine. It just feels really, really awkward and just doesn't work at all. It's just extremely convenient. There's probably plenty of other stuff that I'm just skimming over, but this is really like my main thoughts on this book, that it has some okay moments and some pretty good moments, some really good moments even, but it's just bogged down by just a boring, uneventful story with characters that are just written very poorly. It has some great moments with the characters, but I just feel so out of character, out of place. It's not that entertaining to read, and I can't say I really enjoyed myself all the way through, except for the third act. In fact, if I was telling somebody to read this book, I would say skip everything and just read the last 2 chapters, because those are the best 2 chapters of the entire book. So with all that said, I'm going to give Splinter the Mind's Eye a 5 out of 10. So overall, would I recommend this book? Not really, especially based off of my score, but if you are a huge Star Wars fan, I'm not going to say don't read it. In fact, I would say, you know, it's intriguing to read just because it's an alternate take on Star Wars, and it's, you know, a Star Wars that could have been. But other than that, it's just not that interesting to read, and I found it extremely dull and boring. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed this review. Now, look forward to another book review coming soon. I'm going to be starting the Han Solo Adventures by Brian Daley soon, so look forward to reviews for those books coming out soon. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.